everybody, and welcome back to my Cryptid Iceberg videos, which I hope you guys are enjoying. I can't tell you how excited I am to finally be making this series and this channel in general. I have some really fun ideas of topics to cover and horror to explore, and I'd be really grateful if you all wanted to come along for the ride. Please leave a comment below if there's a topic that you would like to see me cover for pretty much any area of the horror genre. If you like the videos I'm making on this new channel, then please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. Today's video is the second layer of the Cryptid Iceberg. In this layer, I have a lot of creatures that might not be well known on their own, but are either just big animals in the wrong place, or link to very well-known entities such as mermaids or werewolves. We do have a couple really fun and interesting cryptids included on the list as well, and we'll get to those shortly. We'll also be having my son read out one of these, so again, I hope you enjoy hearing his enthusiasm for these amazing critters. It's a lot of fun to include my son in these videos, and it's always nice to find another way to bond with one or both of my kids. With the intro out of the way, we're going to start with a cryptid that is linked to the werewolf, the Rougarou. The Rougarou, or loup-garou, loup meaning wolf and garou meaning man who turns into an animal, is also known as the Louisiana werewolf, and its name literally means werewolf in Mischief. This creature is much like a werewolf, but is said to be able to transform into a wolf at any time, making it a very dangerous being. This cryptid is said to look like a human with a wolf's head or dog's head. It usually has glowing red eyes, sharp teeth, and claws. It's said to stalk the swamps of Acadiana and Greater New Orleans, being used often as a story to keep children behaving. Alternatively, this creature is also used as a cautionary tale to Catholics, being a monster who will stalk and murder Catholics who don't follow the rules of Lent. This creature has been around since the 16th century, where it was often used as the scapegoat for different crimes and misfortunes in rural France, such as missing children, ransacked houses, or livestock attacks. This legend was brought from the French and French-Canadian settlers who adapted it to fit their new environment. Over time, the Rougarou evolved into the Cajun legend that it is today, partially still holding its old French culture and partially being merged with the Native American beliefs about shapeshifters and Catholic teachings of sin and punishment. There are different stories of how a Rougarou can come to be. In some stories, the Rougarou is a human who has been cursed by a witch, or they can become a Rougarou by breaking the Catholic Lent. This curse lasts 101 days, and the person will become a Rougarou every night. The only way to break the curse earlier is to draw another person's blood, which will cause the curse to transfer to the new person. In other stories, the curse is permanent, and the only way to kill a Rougarou is by fire or cutting off its head. Some silly legends claim that a Rougarou can be repelled by placing 13 small objects near an entrance, such as coins or beans. The Rougarou feels compelled to count the objects, but will lose track every time because it can only count to 12. In popular culture, the Rougarou shows up in many places. There's a festival held in its honor, a brand of rum named after it, and even a zipline park named after it in Oklahoma. In Cedar Point, Ohio, there's a roller coaster named after it that is styled like the Louisiana swamps and has speakers playing eerie sounds, including a few roars. Movies and shows also often include the Rougarou, including the show Supernatural, the show called Shadow of the Rougarou, and it even shows up in Scooby-Doo. Our next cryptid is another specific example of a general cryptid that is well known around the world. Mermaids and mermen have been long believed to exist under the surface of the world's water bodies. Michigan, in the USA, has its own version, often called the Michigan merman or Mamegwashi, that is said to live in Lake Superior in Michigan. They are believed to be water spirits, about the size of a 7 to 8 year old child, with the head and torso of a human and the lower body of a fish. One of the first recountings of the Michigan merman goes all the way back to 1782, when a voyager and merchant from the town of Repentigny encountered the merman on the shores of Lake Superior. This merchant, whose name was Venant Saint Germain, saw the creature somewhere between Isle Royale and the Canadian shorelines. Jermaine was at first captivated by the merman, but quickly became spooked and reached for his gun. An old Ojibwe woman rushed to intercept Jermaine, tussling with him for control of the weapon, and explaining that the Memegwashi were protected creatures who would curse any who hurt them. He then reported the encounter to 2 judges of the Court of King's Bench in the District of Montreal. His retelling is a story that is still told in Michigan today. Since Jermaine's encounter, all those years ago, there has been a plethora of stories and legends coming not only from Lake Superior, but all 5 of the Great Lakes. Reports of strange creatures, unexplainable weather phenomenon, spooky phantoms, in addition to lights and sounds that experienced sailors often tell about. Even those who only use the lakes for recreation often have tales of strange and mysterious things or sights below the water's surface. These creatures are said to be the guardians of the lakes and surrounding forests, and are protected by the Native Americans who have lived there for generations. It is said that to harm or kill one of these mermaids will cause bad luck and horrible storms for days. While mermaids will always be a fun and whimsical creature, our next entry on this iceberg is a cryptid that has captured my imagination for quite a while. I played a horror game based on this cryptid, which was great fun, and I've been a fan of this cryptid ever since. I'm speaking of the Loveland Frog, and up at the top right corner of the screen you'll see a link to the game that I played that has this cryptid in it. The Loveland Frogmen, also known as the Loveland Lizard, derived their name from the area they resided in, Loveland, Ohio, specifically Clermont County in Loveland, Ohio. These creatures are said to be bipedal frogs that are about 3 to 4 feet tall, or about a meter tall, have leathery skin, webbed hands and feet, and a frog-like head with eyes that are large and bulging. They walk upright like a human and have a wide mouth, like a frog. The Loveland Frogmen have had several sightings over the years, with some of the most memorable coming from a traveling salesman and 2 separate police sightings, although the second policeman later recanted his statement and claimed that what he saw was actually just a large iguana missing its tail. The salesman spoke of 3 frog-like creatures standing beside the road. Some recallings of this story tell that the frogmen were holding some type of wand that sprayed sparks and scared the salesman away. First officer sighting was of a creature that ran in front of his car on an icy night, causing the officer to slam on his brakes to avoid hitting it. The creature then stood up on its hind legs and ran over the railing on the side of the road. The second officer was said to have shot at and possibly mortally wounded the creature, but it escaped him and ran away. This fun cryptid has become Loveland, Ohio's mascot and is added to some of the official occasions and events. There is a fun Loveland Frogman race each year that has been going on for 10 years. A science fiction novel, The Man from Primrose Lane, features the Frogmen, as well as a found footage horror movie adequately titled Frogman. One of the more fun recent cultural references is a musical titled Hot Damn, It's the Loveland Frog, which premiered at the Art Academy of Cincinnati during the 2014 Cincinnati Fringe Festival. In addition, there's also the game I spoke of earlier. Speaking of games I've played, Inscription is the game that references the next entry on our list, the Hodag. This creature is one of the strangest on the entire iceberg, and up towards the top of my favorites just because of its weirdness. This is also the first entry on our list of cryptids to be classified as a fearsome critter, a subcategory of cryptids that were reported by North American lumberjacks. I've been so enamored by the fearsome critters that several of these creatures may very well become some of my first deep dive videos if I can find enough information on them. This cryptid is said to be an enormous creature, standing 7 feet tall and 30 feet long, with the head of a frog, body of a lizard, large protruding tusks, the horns of a bison, the face of an elephant, the back of a dinosaur complete with thick curved spines down its back, with short legs and huge claws, and finally, a long tail with spikes or spears at the end. It is said that the Hodag was born of the ashes of abused oxen, the incarnation of the accumulation of abuse these animals suffered at the hands of their masters. The history of the Hodag is a strong part of the lore associated with the town of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, where the creature featured strongly in early Paul Bunyan stories. The Hodag also has one of the greatest hoaxes ever attached to it. In 1893, a Wisconsin land surveyor, timber cruiser, and well-known prankster by the name of Eugene Shepard rounded up a group of local people to help him capture a Hodag in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, where one had been reported being seen. The group claimed to have had to use dynamite to kill the beast, and a photograph of the charred remains was released to the media, being dubbed the fiercest, strangest, most frightening monster ever to set razor-sharp claws on the earth. It became extinct after its main food source, all-white bulldogs, became scarce in the area. Reported on in the Hildenberg by Holly, 2004, In Search of the Hodag. Shepard also claimed to have caught another Hodag, this time a live one, by using a long pole with chloroform rag at the end. He took this Hodag to the first Oneida County Fair and had connected wires to it, moving it occasionally to spook the crowd, even more than they already were, often causing them to flee. When more and more newspapers started picking up on the story, a group of scientists from the Smithsonian Institution announced they would be traveling to Rhinelander to study the creature, and Shepard was forced to admit that the Hodag was, in fact, a hoax. The Hodag is an official symbol in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, where a statue stands in front of the Chamber of Commerce. It's the mascot of the local high school, lends its name to numerous businesses and organizations in the area, including the annual music festival. Local artist Tracy Goberville has created several sculptures of the Hodag, including the statue in front of the Chamber of Commerce. With that, we will go from fun hoax to adorable boop noodle with the Tsukinoko, Japan's cutest snake cryptid. While the Hodag is widely accepted to have been a hoax, the Tsukinoko is a cryptid that could possibly be a real creature. This is also my son's favorite cryptid, so here's Chop Chop to tell you all about this adorable little snake.
Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Tsukinoko, which meaning the dirt child or child of hammer. It's a snake-like cryptid from the mountains in western Japan. This critter is said to be between 30 and 80 centimeters long, and is a chunky little guy with the width in the body being more than the head or tail. It's covered in large plate-like scales that run down its body. The serpent's scaly skin is speckled in different dark brown, black, and gray colors. It has a yellowish belly. It's said to have fangs and venom, just like an ordinary snake. In northern Japan, it's known as the Bachhiba. Snakes cryptids are often found in caves near water where they emit either a strange chirping sound or sounds that are remarkably human-like, sometimes even being said to mimic conversation around them. In some legends, not only can Tsukinoko speak, but they notorize liars. Another silly legend surrounding Tsukinoko is their love for alcohol. They also report to be able to jump to a meter in height and double jump again when it's in the air. They're also said to be able to swallow their own tail and roll down hills, much like the Ouroboros or the hoop snake, which will be discussed in a later level of the iceberg. As fascinating as this all sounds, many people in Japan believe in its existence. There are many who believe that they encountered one. Starting in 1994, when there was a sudden rise in Tsukinoko sightings caused by the Tsukinoko boom that occurred after publishing several books retelling searches from the mysterious creature. The most popular of these books was Runaway Tsukinoko, which recounts the sighting and incidents that the author and his team research and investigate. There's even a festival held every year in May in the Haishinwan in Gifu Prefecture, where you can go Tsukinoko hunting for a reward. If you find one, the festival is held each year on the 3rd of May. This cryptid is incredibly popular in Yu-Gi-Oh culture. It's illusion in the many shows, animes, and games. Some notable examples are Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's part of the danger archetype of cards, Yokai Watch, where it's called Noko, and Pokemon as Dunsparce and the Dunsparce creatures that are modeled after it. There's an enemy modeled after the Sukunoko in Castlevania and catchable Sukunoko Monster Hunter World that can be added as pets to the player's room.
With that, we will go from fantastical to fairly ordinary as far as cryptids go. But since there aren't a lot of cryptids from the UK, I'd figure I'd include all of the ones that are. The Beast of Bodmin Moor is a feline cryptid that hails from the rugged terrain of Bodmin Moor in Cornwall, UK, and is said to be a large, black, phantom-like creature that has glowing green or yellow eyes. Witnesses have claimed that this cat is huge, ranging anywhere from 4 feet all the way to 7 feet tall. That's about 1.2 to 2.1 meters. It's said to look similar to a jaguar or leopard, with a sleek, muscular body, a long tail, and powerful legs. This animal can supposedly jump higher and farther than a normal cat and cover long distances both quickly and silently despite its large size. It's also said to screech, hiss, and growl. This creature was reportedly first sighted in 1978, and more than 200 different sightings have occurred since then. There have even been government investigations into the large cat, though no conclusive evidence was ever brought forward or found. There is a large cat skull discovered by a boy who was walking near the River Foley, just days after the government concluded its search, however. The skull, missing its lower jaw, possessed 2 sharp, prominent canines, which suggests that it might have belonged to a leopard. There is, however, video footage of what appears to be a large black cat that was captured by a military policeman near his home. In 1976, a new law was passed called the Dangerous Wild Animals Act that made it difficult for most people to own exotic animals as pets. And this is the best explanation to the sightings of the beast, as this caused many exotic pet owners to release their animals into the wild. Could the Beast of Bodmin Moor be a simple big cat that either escaped a zoo or circus, or be someone's pet that was eventually released into the wild? Like with most of these cryptids, the truth may never be known. We're now going to go from a feline cryptid to a dogman cryptid and talk about the Beast of Bray Roadside. The Beast of Bray Roadside is one of the most famous werewolf cryptids that exist, with more witness testimonies and sightings than any other werewolf, lending credibility to the existence of something in Walworth County, Wisconsin. A local newspaper reporter, Linda Godfrey, covered the story of the Beast of Bray Roadside after numerous reports, and although she was initially skeptical of the tales, she eventually became convinced because of the sincerity of the witnesses' reports. She later turned her series of articles into a book titled The Beast of Bray Road, Tailing Wisconsin's Werewolf. This creature is said to be 5 to 7 feet tall, 1.5 to 2.1 meters tall, with brownish gray fur and glowing red eyes. It's said to walk on 2 feet, though it will get on all fours when it has to sprint. There have been many sightings of the beast in and around Walworth County, Wisconsin, starting in 1936 on the grounds of St. Coletta's School for Exceptional Children. In the 1980s, there were multiple incidents reported, including multiple witnesses claiming that the beast had attacked their vehicles, leaving behind long scratch marks on the doors and trunks. Some reports speak of vehicles hitting the beast, only to have the creature chase them and their vehicle when they try to investigate what they hit. Although most sightings seem to happen during the darker hours, some daylight hour sightings have occurred, with people stating they've seen unusually large wolf-like creatures running through cornfields. Residents of Elkhorn believe this cryptid is satanic in nature, attributing its appearance with multiple satanic rituals that were performed in the 1980s and 1990s. John Fredrickson, the Walworth County Humane Officer and the one who investigated the strange sightings, was sure it was just a bunch of teenagers doing these rituals. But in other counties, there were older adults who did them more. Walworth County was one of the counties with the most satanic rituals. Although not as popular in media as some of the other cryptids we've seen so far, the Beast of Bray Roadside has featured in some shows and had its own feature film. The werewolf it resembles is one of the most popular movie monsters ever, however, so it's had its fair share of screen time. And with that, it's time to go from the forests and woods of Wisconsin to the lakes of Oklahoma and take a look at what is supposed to be a large and very aggressive octopus in the freshwater lakes. The Oklahoma octopus is said to live in Lake Thunderbird, Ulaga Lake, and Lake Tenkiller, where it attacks and kills unwary swimmers. If this truly is an octopus, then it would be the only cephalopod to inhabit a freshwater location, although some other marine creatures that tend to exist primarily in saltwater do have some members of their species that are freshwater inhabitants, such as sharks. There have been no photographs, videos, or specimens of this creature, but the high number of drownings in these lakes and some reported sightings and anecdotes are the proof that people point to for its existence. It's said to resemble an octopus, being the size of a horse with a reddish-brown, leathery skin. There are a few different explanations for this creature, the most likely among them being that this is simply a new octopus species that has evolved to adapt to fresh water and become larger than the average octopus. However, these lakes are man-made and quite far apart, so it's tough to understand how the octopus would have found its way into them in the first place. Another theory is that this creature was a pet that someone discarded into the lake at some point. But this also wouldn't explain how it's seen in 3 different lakes instead of just one. The last theory is that this creature is a cryptid that resembles an octopus, although it's still hard to imagine how the creature made it into where it's said to reside. There aren't a whole lot of popular media surrounding this cryptid, but it does have a documentary that was released on Animal Planet that talks of the theories and high number of drownings in this lake. And with that, it's time to return to another werewolf tale, this time situated in Michigan, the Michigan Dogman. The Michigan Dogman is a creature said to live in the northern woods of Michigan, particularly near the Manistee River. It's described as being quite similar to both the rougarou of Louisiana and the beast of Bray roadside in Wisconsin, often described as a bipedal, larger-than-normal wolf or a human with a wolf or dog's head. This creature is said to stand up to 7 feet, 2 meters tall, and has a strong body covered in shaggy brown, gray, or black fur. Its head is canine-like, with pointed teeth and glowing, eerie eyes that have an unnatural appearance to them, especially in the dark. There have been many dogman sightings in Michigan, dating back to 1938, all over the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula. Starting with Robert Fortney of Paris, Michigan, who was attacked by 5 wild dogs, and while he managed to shoot one, the other 4 ran away. He claims that one of the dogs that escaped ran on 2 legs instead of 4. Other sightings of the Dogman have been reported in Allegan County, Manistee, Wexford County, and many other areas nearby. Similar to the Beast of Bray roadside, this creature doesn't have a lot of cultural references of it specifically, although there are tons of werewolf stories everywhere. This Dogman does, however, have a song that was recorded about it that prompted listeners of the radio station it was played on to call in with stories of their own. Stephen Cook recorded the song named The Legend and has received more than 100 more reports of this beast. He later added verses to the song after hearing a report of an animal break-in from an unknown canine at a cabin in Luther, Michigan. While we're heading to the next entry, we're still staying in the land of better-known creatures with a lake beast that is said to be very similar to the Loch Ness Monster, Tahoe Tessie. Tahoe Tessie is an aquatic creature that resides in Lake Tahoe, North America's largest alpine lake that straddles the borders of California and Nevada. This creature is said to be quite large, reptilian, but with a swimming pattern more like a mammal. Tessie has smooth skin despite its reptilian features, and has been described as being anywhere from turquoise to jet black in coloration. Legends of this creature date to the Native American stories told centuries ago, when the local tribes warned settlers about the mysterious water being that lived in the lake. There have been countless sightings and reports made since, including reports by police officers, cryptozoologists, and even crowds of people all at once. Most sightings report a large creature swimming, with up and down motions and humps on the surface of the water. Tessie is quite popular in Tahoe, being a mascot of sorts with multiple logos of the creatures on them. Tessie features in quite a few children's books in cartoon form and was even a popular character in the local newspapers. There even used to be a museum and hotline for Tessie, but both have since closed down. And for the next and final entry on our list, we're moving on to a more unique cryptid that's been seen all over North America. The hide-behind, another one of America's fearsome critters. One of the more interesting things about the hide-behind is that no one has a very good description of this creature. It's known to be elusive and difficult to spot, able to conceal its form behind almost anything, and even shift its shape to fit behind whatever it's trying to hide behind. Those who have caught a glimpse of it describe it as being wraith-like, canine or even vaguely humanoid in form, about 6 feet tall and slender. That's about all the description of this creature that we've been able to get in spite of its long and varied history. Many Native American tribes and people have legends of an elusive forest dweller who preys on humans who venture into the woods. And these legends continued on with the lumberjacks, who blamed this creature as one of the reasons their colleagues never returned. This mysterious cryptid continues to fascinate and intrigue those who live in or travel to the woodlands, keeping America warily watching the tree lines. Most of the reports of this creature focus on senses other than sight, since it's so good at hiding and evading prying eyes. Witnesses describe feelings of unease, feelings of being watched, fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures moving. Some report strange noises, like footsteps or rustling leaves, even when alone. A few have claimed to see the creature itself, describing it as a tall, thin, shadowy figure that disappears quickly. This creature has so well captured the imagination that references to it in popular culture and media are vast and not always easy to pin down. How many horror stories tell of an unknown creature in the forest or woods that's never seen but dangerous nonetheless? How many monsters of the silver screen and TV screen would fit this description? The hide-behind specifically does feature in a few literary works, including Diane Duane's Young Wizard series. And with that, we will conclude level 2 of the Cryptid Iceberg, being one of the more normal but still interesting of the tiers. I really hope you're enjoying these videos, and I'll ask again that if you're liking this, then please leave a like, a comment, or even subscribe if you want to make sure you don't miss the next level in this iceberg, which I should have out in about 2 weeks. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.